Hi, I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind recently. I recently read an article in, I believe it was Detail magazine, I'm not certain, about men who lived portions of their lives as homosexuals, believing they were homosexuals, and later had a orientation shift to heterosexuality. You know, for a period of time, they effectively were gay, but then they, I guess, realized either they weren't or that changed. And I thought it was a really, really interesting concept, you know. Everyone, you know, I guess we're in a time where gay issues are really out in the media and they're really prominent in society. And, you know, I think it's becoming easier and easier for people to come out and homosexuals, especially younger people. And I think that's great. But there's not necessarily a lot of tolerance or respect for people who there's still not a lot of respect for people who you can't really fit into a mold, an easy label, and that kind of gets me mad, you know. Transsexuals still are they really creep people out to a large degree. I personally am fascinated by transsexuals. I've had a number of transsexuals who I've been friends with, I've had close associations with, and I think they're beautiful, fascinating, dynamic people with really interesting stories to tell about themselves and about the world. And people who don't necessarily fit into a binary gender dynamic, period, you know, people don't really understand that. People who maybe don't subscribe to a gender, they think gender is outdated. People who feel that over time their gender identity has shifted. A lot of people just don't understand. They can't comprehend it. And I think this article really gave me a little bit of hope, because a lot of these men who had years even of being with men, having relationships with men, believing they were gay, they later, you know, found wives or girlfriends, and the majority of them, their girlfriends were fine with it, you know. They knew and they didn't care, and I thought that was really a sign of evolved thought, you know. I would really love to see everyone living in a society where people didn't care who you had sex with, you know. It didn't matter what their gender was. You didn't have to be gay or straight. You know, you're attracted to people not because they fit into some type or because they fulfill some role that society is trying to define that we all need to, you know, fit into. I think it would be really beautiful if we lived in a society where people just loved each other for who they were, the really dynamic factors of personality and you know, and life story that make people individuals, you know. I really don't think we're all as unique as we've been led to believe, you know. There's some studies that have shown, that are beginning to show, and some personal experience of mine have shown that people with similar facial characteristics often have very similar personalities, and there is a lot of evidence to support now that personality is genetic. So I don't think we're all as unique as we like to believe, but I don't think it's necessarily the characteristics of who we are that make us unique. I think it's our history and what we do with those characteristics and how we portray ourselves, how we behave, the choices we make. That's what makes us unique. And I really would love to live in a world where people loved and were attracted mentally, emotionally, physically to people for those dynamic facets of who they were, those absolutely unique facets of who they were. Not because, you know, oh, I'm attracted to men because I'm a woman, or I'm attracted to men because I'm a man and I'm gay. I think one of my philosophies on God is that I don't like to define God. I don't like to put God in a box. I don't like to say God is this or God is that. And it's because I think God is so awesome and so beyond our concept to grasp in totality. And I think it's hubris and arrogance to try and confine God with a label or a set of characteristics, because I think God is so much more than we could ever conceive. And why would you want to limit something like God? I feel the same way about love. Why would you ever ever, ever, ever want to limit what love is, how you can express love, how you can feel love. You know, love is one of the most beautiful, forceful things on this planet in our existence. And all the time, people are trying to put constraints on love. They're trying to put labels on it. They're trying to micromanage it. And so many people make mistakes and they get twisted up in their lives because they won't just go with love. They won't just let it happen. They won't let it flow. They won't just be comfortable expressing it and feeling it and receiving it. And it makes me sad. And if people would just go with love, act with love, you know, express themselves with love, the world would be such a much more incredible place. It would be amazing. And I don't think we'd recognize it, and that'd be a really good thing. Um, so I just, some things that have really, really given me hope recently is this article about men who have very, very interesting, very non-traditional sexual histories and kind of self-identities that have really gone through some pretty severe evolutions throughout their lifetime, and they all seem to be well adjusted. They all seem to have people around them who supported them and loved them, not in spite of or because of their journey, but because of who they are and what makes them who they are. And it gives me hope. More and more I see kids, younger kids, who don't feel the need to conform to these ideals of what gender should be or what love should be. I see people who are just more willing to love freely, not love freely like the 60s where you're just sleeping with anything that moves, you know. That may have its place. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. That's not my place. But real, true emotional love that's unrestricted. People are less inhibited in expressing love in public, you know. People who are always against PDAs, as long as it's not terribly graphic, I don't understand what people have against PDAs, you know, public displays of affection. If someone wants to hug, kiss, you know, let them. If it makes you uncomfortable, don't watch. You know, just mind your business. And let them have their love. Let them experience it and revel in it. So that's something, it's just something that's been on my mind recently. And I think we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but I'm seeing small signs of hope for the future. So maybe some more on that later. Take care.